Amy Toner, the executive director of the NATSO Foundation. It feels like it's been longer, but it was 2023 when we started our partnership with HAAS Alert. I feel like we've got a whole routine going now. This is our second or third time doing this, but Tom Parps is the vice president of sales at HAAS Alert, and he's going to walk you guys through the technology. I'm going to just give you a few Q&As. A few logistics. The Q&A is at the bottom. You can submit questions really at any time or raise your hand through Zoom. We don't have a lot of people on, so we want people to be able to ask questions at any time. We're recording this and everyone's muted, and I think that's it. I'll turn it over to you, Tom.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, I think we started our partnership, we started just earlier in 2023, and we announced it, I believe it was June of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
We had our first kind of safety webinar where we were talking about this. Since then, quite a few of the NATSO members have come on board to, protect and safeguard the lives and well-being of their employees. And hopefully with this presentation today, I'm able to, also show some additional ways that we can protect our people when they're going out on the side of the road, which is a very, very dangerous thing. So we really appreciate everything, in the partnership. We appreciate you, Amy, your whole team there at the foundation. You all do amazing work. And, again, anything we can do to help to make sure that more folks go home safer to their families, that's our mission. And we really look forward to our discussion today. At the very end, Amy, I'll be happy to share my contact information if anyone would like to reach out to me direct, and happy to go from there. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tom Parps, Vice President at HAAS Alert, and I'm looking forward to our safety conversation. For our agenda today, really, I want to talk through, two most important topics of understanding the roadway safety problem. Now, everybody is probably aware of these things. It's not uncommon, hey, we know about these things, but I really want to make sure that we are all aligned on why this problem keeps occurring, because it's not getting safer out there. It's actually getting more dangerous. It's become more unsafe. The incidents, these preventable collisions, unfortunately, the injuries and deaths are on the rise. And so since we're not seeing a decline, let's understand why that keeps happening. What gaps might we potentially have in the safety that we're providing? And that's a great segue into why Safety Cloud has been a standard. Why is it codified into federal law under the infrastructure bill, specifically for preventing roadside deaths? And I'll be able to show some examples of some awesome NATSO members, why have they made it a standard part, and really how it's helping to solve that problem. I will leave some time for Q&A at the end, but as Amy mentioned, if you do have any questions, just type it right in to the Q&A section there, and we can talk about it. Don't feel like you have to wait to the end. And then ultimately, I'll turn it back over to Amy, and she can talk about next steps, getting the recording over to folks so that you can review it internally with the team. So without further ado, what we're going to talk about today is really preventing collisions, preventing injuries, preventing the unfortunate downsides of working the roadway where there's a potential for death. And whether it's you or whether it's your customer that's waiting for you, or ultimately just the motorists that are on the roadways. How can we utilize advanced digital alerting to ensure that our people go home safe? And when I talk about as the problem is continuing to get worse, we're even today seeing levels 16% higher than even pre-COVID numbers. So when you think about the folks that are going out and they're working on the roadway, none of us are immune to it. It's impacting all of us across all these industries. But really, when we think about our roadside, right, where we send our service trucks out to the side of the road, when we have folks that are working on or near those roadways, a lot of the motorists, we've done a great job as a country, as states. We've done a great job at the local level to really, educate and about slow down, move over laws. We have them in all 50 states, every province in Canada. But despite the fact that the majority of people know that they have to slow down and move over. They know what the law is. They know what the behavior has to be. We're still dealing with an average of 301 preventable collisions every day on average. And that means every 60 seconds, there's 27 of our responders, our roadway response vehicles that we're sending out that are at risk of being hit. And daily, that's 38,800. So a lot of unfortunate situations can occur, and they continue to occur. And then if we think about our customers, these commercial motor vehicles that we provide a service to, so our customer base, those sitting ducks, as the industry calls them, on average, they're hit every 7 minutes because they are broken down or stopped in or next to those roadways. And this unfortunately happens on all roadway types, right? I know a lot of the times we may be going out to highways, maybe large arterial roads, but we're not immune to this, whether we're working, residential streets, city streets. I know you folks aren't probably working residential or city streets, but the point I'm getting at is that the problem persists, and it's just as dangerous to be on a residential street as it is on a highway. Now, I know at highways, there's faster speeds, the collisions, the events can be more catastrophic, but the risk to being hit, injured, or killed is exactly the same in all these different roadway types, even those kind of middle of country, middle of nowhere, kind of God's country roads. And so when you think about what we're doing to protect our folks, we do a lot of great stuff. So the triangles, the cones, the flashing lights, the high visibility clothing, the high visibility in ANSI 2, ANSI 3 rated, the reflective paint, the chevrons that we're putting on vehicles, all of this great stuff. We have to keep doing it. But it's what we've done and always done, over the years, over the decades, and yet the problem keeps persisting. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean that we've done anything wrong, but if you think about it, the arrow boards, the messaging signs, the variable messaging signs, our lights, our high vis, all of these things that we're using, they're outside on the side of the road, right? They're not inside that soundproof cocoon that all motorists are driving in, whether commercial or consumer motorists. We're all driving around in these soundproof cocoons where the outside world has been manufactured to stay outside. Now, moreover, that arrow board, that bright flashing light, that high visibility, that triangle, those cones, those great safety things that we're using, they require someone's attention before they get to it. Otherwise, they don't see it until they're passing you. And that's just what's happening. You're working inches from the fog line. These are 1-ton bullets on a consumer vehicle. These are 5 and 10 and 20-ton bullets that are going past us, often at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. So the near misses will persist because the stuff we're using in the outside world that requires someone's attention, a driver's attention before they get to it, they don't actually see it until they're right on top of it. And at best, you have 1 or 2 seconds before they recognize it's there, and they continue on. And there we have the collision incidents, we have the injury incidents, or the worst case incidents, but often the near misses, which are scary, right? I've talked to quite a few NATSO members where they have people that won't go out onto the side of the road anymore because of those near misses, of how scary it is, or employees don't want to go out and do that anymore. And we lose employees because of how scary it can be, and they have families to take care of. And so when we want to address this, we have to also remember the reason people don't see us, they don't see all our great safety stuff, our cones and lights and signs and boards and high visibility, is because they're distracted in their car. And all of us, right, have done some of these things at some point or another, not purposefully to say that I'm a distracted driver, because nobody will admit to being a distracted driver. It's a really bad word, throughout the industry and obviously throughout the motoring public. But when you ask people, do they multitask while they drive? The answer is always yes, because we think as a society that we're great multitaskers. We can multitask because, again, we're all great drivers. No one's aiming for us. But the multitasking is a really nice way of saying I'm a distracted driver. And if you think about these distractions, right, it's yes, text messaging. But you know what? Text messaging is just as dangerous as eating food, because often when you're eating food, and we've all done it, right? We're driving with our knee, or we're reaching for our soda or our water or our coffee, right? Our eyes are coming away from it. These manual distractions, shaving our face, reading a book, reaching for something that fell, grabbing our purse or our wallet or our backpack or whatever the case may be. These are manual distractions. We don't think of it as distracted driving, but it's dangerous, and we've all done it. And then ultimately, when you think about the visual distractions, right? So there's billboards, there's bumper stickers, there's window graphics that are on vehicles. We've got roadway signs that are a paragraph long talking about the slow down, move over laws, right? To kind of promote like, hey, be aware of these laws. But what does it do, folks? It literally, we take our eyes off the road for several seconds while we're trying to read something, or you see the big bright flashing lights of a fire engine or a police vehicle on the opposite side of the highway, and we're rubbernecking, we're looking over here, or they're staring at what you guys are doing. And what does the human body do, right? Not that they're aiming for you, but when we look over here, that's just what the human body tends to do. When we look over here, it's what the human body tends to do. We all learned about this. So again, it's these visual distractions that we have to be accountable for, that people aren't really paying attention to us. And again, not by purpose, but just by design of being multitaskers. But that's no different than when you have a radio in the car. We really need to understand as an industry that every make and model on the roadway today has a radio. And really, I don't think I know anybody that does not have the radio on, or a podcast or an audio book or whatever the case may be. If that radio is on, that radio consumes the largest amount of our brain function, cognitive brain function. We are listening or paying more attention to the radio than we are safe driving. That's just how it works. That's why we turn the radios down, so we can look for an address, we can see better, we can think more clearly. If you got passengers in your car, you might be, even if you're not talking to them, kids in the back seat, your colleagues, your loved ones that are next to you, your friends, if they're having a conversation, your brain's listening to it. Often a radio is on. So it's all these things cognitively that are distracting us. And, we live in a technological age. Everybody has a phone. Nobody really has to talk with the phone up to their ear anymore. That we've got Bluetooth earpieces. We've got Bluetooth vehicles where you can have that conversation directly through your car. But make no mistake, and the data has been around for more than a decade. If you're driving a motor vehicle of any kind and having a phone conversation, it is the equivalent of driving with a 0.08 blood alcohol content. And often our families or our colleagues or our loved ones, so additional distractions are there. And if you've got a Bluetooth earpiece in, often the radio is on if you have passengers. So again, good drivers on the roadway don't realize how distracted they are, and we all suffer from this because of that multitasking, whether we think about it or not, because it's kind of habit. And then remember, we're hoping that they're going to see us before they get to us, but they don't until they're right on top of us. And unless we disrupt this distraction, unless we give them the time and space, we get their attention, disrupt the radio, disrupt the phone call, disrupt that conversation, disrupt the eating, disrupt the things that are not causing them to see us until they get to us. Unfortunately, this is going to continue to happen over and over. And these are preventable. They can be stopped. But it's important that we stop that, because even though we don't do anything wrong, we care a lot about our employees. We want everybody to go home safer to their families. We want our customers to be safer. We want them to go on their way. We care a lot about this. But even though it's not our fault, when the leading cause of these preventable collisions are this inattentive, the distracted driving and speeding, it is our responsibility to ensure the safety of our employees. It's our responsibility to protect and safeguard their well-being, because even though it's not our fault, if one of our people are injured, or it could take the life of our employees, we pay the price for that. Our employees pay the price for that with their bodies or with their lives. It can negatively impact our reputation. I think the average cost to some of the repair vehicles that you guys have could be anywhere in the range of $5,000 to $15,000 just for repairs, and then it's out of service. Total replacement is a whole different story. The average cost to an injured employee on average could be $100,000 to $200,000. And then I don't know how you put a cost on having to bury an employee, right? But that's the big thing that folks do not want to experience or don't want to experience again. And again, I want to be very clear. We have not done anything wrong, but there is a gap. If we don't have people's attention, they really don't know that we're there until the last second, and that's when the tragedy occurs. That's when the near miss occurs. So that's why nearly a decade ago, we started Safety Cloud. We identified this. We experienced it ourselves and realized nobody was solving for this. And because it is a big gap, you need people's attention and they need time and space to slow down and move over. We created Safety Cloud. And you can see all these agencies that we work with. It's not just our repair. It's not just our towing and recovery partners. It's our postal and our parcel delivery. It's our utility contractors. It's our road workers, right, in our work zones. It's our school buses. It's our street sweepers and our garbage trucks and our firefighters and our law enforcement officers and our emergency medical, right? It's all of these folks that are on the roadway that are at great risk when they're working on or near or stopped on the side of the road. And so why Safety Cloud has become a standard, as I mentioned at the beginning, codified into federal law, specifically, right, the Protecting Roadside Workers Act, a part of IJA, right, written into, codified into federal law, and why that happens and why it's been used by thousands and thousands and thousands of agencies around the world is because when you have Safety Cloud, all you're doing is you're telling your folks to go out to the side of the road so that when those flashing lights are activated and they're doing their job on or near the roadway, Safety Cloud is activated and we're sending alerts, advanced warning alerts, audibly and visually, 30 seconds upstream through people's phones, disrupt the phone, through people's infotainment systems, disrupt the radio, getting those audible so they can hear it or visual so they can see it, disrupting those distractions and saying, watch out, slow down, move over, TA truck service vehicle ahead, please, move over. And you can see what we're doing here. And it's important to note that 30 seconds is a really critical time and space to give people the ability to pay attention, slow down, and move over. Because the distance that those vehicles are going to travel before they get to you will change based on their speed. So I'm going to use Amy as an example here. If and I'm just using TA, Travel Centers of America, because they have us activated on their entire fleet. If I was a TA truck service employee and I went out to go roadside and Amy was coming at me on a highway or an interstate and she's doing 50, 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, she's going to get that alert 30 seconds in advance. But because she's going so fast, she's going to cover a lot of distance. I'm like a half mile up, disrupting her radio, disrupting her distractions, disrupting her phone call, saying, watch out, right? There is this, and you can see this unique icon that we got changed for our roadside heroes that work every day. And this is on Waze, right? One of the most widely used navigation apps. Even if you're not navigating, you still get our alerts. So turn-by-turn directions is not a requirement, but we're literally say, hey, watch out. And you can see in the blue, we can actually brand that message like we've done for Travel Centers of America. Slow down, move over, TA truck service vehicle ahead. Ultimately, they're gonna get them on their phone, they're gonna get them on their infotainment system. And if you're going fast, they're going to get it about a half mile away, but still 30 seconds. Now, if I was actually on a slow moving road, and I know you're probably not doing work on these kinds of roads, but if Amy was driving to her house, she's going through her neighborhood, and she happens to be 30 seconds from experiencing me at 5 or 10 miles an hour, still going to get it 30 seconds in advance, but she's going to get it maybe a block or two because she's not going to cover a lot of distance going slow. Or if she's coming at me in the city, doing 35 miles an hour, she'll probably get it a tenth of a mile. Because again, over 30 seconds, she's not going to cover as much distance. So it's always time-based because that's critical. So people get it at the right time, they can see us, they can slow down and move over. And whether they get it on their phones or their infotainment systems like Ford Sync, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, we're going to use all the everyday common stuff. The motoring public gets all this stuff for free. They don't have to buy anything. They don't have to subscribe to anything. We're just partnered with all of the everyday common things that everyone are using anyways. So again, Waze has been our #1 partner over the years. They're owned by Google. Google bought them about 10 years ago for about 1.1, $1.2 billion because they're the most widely used road traffic app on the planet. You don't even have to have your phone screen on. This could be running in the background and Waze will talk to you to tell you about the hazards because people know where they're going. They just don't have a crystal ball of where's that speed trap, where's that hazard, where's that thing that's going to prevent me from getting to work or getting to my meeting or getting to my kids, sports practice or getting home to my family at the time I want to. And again, even if it's running in the background, they're just listening to the radio, Apple CarPlay, Ford Sync, Android Auto, they're going to get those alerts. A couple years ago, Apple came and partnered with us. We're also providing these hazard alerts on Apple Maps. So again, audible so they can hear it, visual so they can see it. And again, whether they're navigating or not, whether they're utilizing their phone or their infotainment system like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, or Ford Sync, they're going to be able to get these audible and visual alerts. And then we also are working with the automakers. So again, 2 years ago, Stellantis, the 6th largest automaker in the world, they own the Chrysler Fiat brand, some of the more popular brands here in North America. They actually passed this programming natively into all the 2018 and newer models of Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, all those Uconnect enabled vehicles. So millions of vehicles that are on the roadway today in US and Canada, in North America, they just passed it into those cars. We're a native part of the car. When they manufacture a car for 24, 25, we're just natively programmed into it. All the driver had to do was start their car and drive somewhere. They could just be listening to the radio. Again, no navigation is necessary. Literally, we're going to disrupt that radio, provide an audible jingle so they can hear it. This visual, you can see this giant white box that's here. And then ultimately, again, it may be this giant white box. It potentially could be a giant black box that takes over. But again, audible and visual alerts. And what's the hazard, right? Is it a school bus? Is it a wrong way driver? Is it a repair vehicle, right? Is it a work zone that they're entering? What's the hazard that they need to pay attention to so they have the time and space? Now, many of you may have not, most folks have probably experienced our alerts because we have so many customers, but didn't realize that it was us that was doing it. But a lot of the times people ask, well, does it work? Well, yes. We've processed billions and billions of alerts. This is new for some folks, but not new for us and not new for the roadways. That's why it's codified. It's been proven, but it was proven scientifically. It wasn't just us saying or anecdotally, hey, all these customers, they don't have strikes anymore. They don't have injuries. They don't have people being killed any longer. We've significantly reduced or eliminated. It's not anecdotal. It's the scientists. Purdue University is the main contractor for Federal Highway. When they talk about roadway safety, we power that. So they went out on the roadway. They spent years. They released a study back in 2021, only when we had Waze. But when we added Chrysler Fiat and we added Apple Maps, we're like, let's get more data. And I mean sensors and videos and heat maps. And I'm not a scientist, but like imagine everything you can to like scrutinize. Does something work? And this is one of the videos that they shared publicly. And that even all of that data that Federal Highway uses when they talk about roadway safety, it's from this, and we power that. That even those Q trucks, and you're going to hear the alerts go off in a second, and this is with INDOT and AAA and Hoosier Helpers, like all this data being fed into the study. Here's a Q truck without digital alerting, nobody was getting out of the way.
Watch out, construction on road ahead.
With those alerts going off upstream, where's the traffic? It's out of that live lane. And you're going to notice here in a second that there's a vehicle.
And then be able to pitch inside some with the fastball.
Hazard
to make
reported
sure
ahead on
they stay
I-65 and in a quarter mile. You're still on the...
And you can see there at the very end, even those vehicles, those two semis that couldn't get out of the way were slowing down and making room. So that Q truck, because without it, despite the the message board, despite the chevrons, despite the pink sign, not the orange sign, which is more visually appealing, catches the attention more, despite the flashing lights, all the standard stuff and the recommended stuff that requires someone's attention before they get to it, people weren't slowing down for that. They were actually hard braking because they were recognizing it at the last second until they activated Safety Cloud, until our digital alerts went out and you saw the video of the car as it went past. By simply sending those alerts, not replacing anything that they were doing, by simply sending those alerts, the gap in the safety equation, get their attention before they get to us so they have the time and space to slow down and move over, people were actually slowing down and actually moving over. It's what we want. It's what's in our laws. Slow down. If you can safely do so, move over. But at minimum, slow down. But with the right space, they can move over and they're not hard braking. And the data proved it, that when you have digital alerting, Safety Cloud added to the equation, not to replace anything, as that additional tool in your tool belt to safeguard the well-being of your employees and your business, it reduced the risk that these incidents occur by as much as 90%. Talk about great safety scores and reducing, those injury scores. 90%. Purdue, that study, all the hard braking incidents that led to those intrusions or secondary collisions or worse, it was reduced at least 80% or more, simply because people now were aware and had time and space. And then NHTSA proved within the first seconds of the alert going out, the average speeds were reduced by 25% or more, which is what we want. Slow down, right? The law. And if you can safely do so, move over. But it was causing them to slow down. And so we do have many options. A lot of folks ask, how could I add this right to my fleet? Well, we have our digital alerting transponders. They're fully set up with satellite, cellular data, SIM cards. It's a fully self-contained, ready to go system. You simply just have to put it on a vehicle. You wire the power, ground, and trigger. It all comes in the kit, and it all comes activated. The only action you take is connect 3 wires. Put this on, just install this, takes about 20 minutes to install. Maybe the first one you do is 25-ish minutes, but then you just rinse and repeat 15, 20 minutes tops on the rest of them. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to train anyone to do anything different. When you send them out, they do their job. Those lights go on, the box is already on, Safety Cloud activates, and we start alerting people when you're working on or near those roadways. Now, over the years, right, we've developed some premier integration partnerships. So it's not uncommon that some folks may use Samsara or Geotab or Webfleet or Azuga or even Cradlepoint. I don't see that as much, but there are some that are doing roadside. Amy, I don't think they're NATSO members, but they do exactly what the NATSO members are doing with their roadside services, and they utilize Cradlepoint. So if you use any of these services, you already have the equipment on your vehicle. I just literally need to activate the service through our partners. All right, you have the infrastructure. It's a matter of just activating the service through the equipment that you have. And so I wanted to, and with permission, of course, I wanted to kind of share, so you have a real life experience, right? TA, and I apologize, my screen is acting like this. Let me just refresh here, Amy, so I apologize for that. So you can get an idea, and I'm not going to click into any of this, is all anonymized, but you can actually see as we're speaking today, right now, folks, every orange icon you see is a TA service truck that's out doing work right now where their employee's life is being protected by Safety Cloud. And again, they didn't have to teach anybody. In fact, when they told employees in their town halls of what they were doing to protect their lives, it was an amazing thing, great feedback, a lot of excitement for what they're doing to protect the lives of their employees, because without it, there's no way to communicate. There's no way to actually get people's attention until they're right on top of us. So it was a great addition to their tool belt to safeguard and protect the well-being of their employees and their organization and their customers, because their customers, right, they're working alongside with our customers. They're at risk too. So it gives them that competitive advantage, right? We're protecting and getting people out of the way while we're doing this. But most importantly, we're protecting and saving the lives of their employees, right? And so, with their fleet, they came on board, I want to say, really early March, and over 3 weeks had an entire fleet up and running, installed and activated. And you can see just last month alone, they alerted 733,915 people with their alerts. That's 783,915 disasters averted. And imagine even if folks around these alerted drivers didn't get the alert, all that slowing down and moving over positively impacted all of that behavior so that that scene could be safe until it was clear. And so this is ultimately a lot of what they're looking for. And I think as an indirect benefit, they've branded. So you can see this here, they've branded, right? So that's 783,000 people saw a TA branded alert, Travel Centers of America, over and over and over again. So when they need help, it's easy for them to remember because they're being alerted of this hazard and hey, they want to be safer as well, right? And so I share this with you because a few years ago, Federal Highway Administration wrote this article in the Innovator about using digital alerts. That's us to boost driver awareness. And they wanted data. Does it work? This is, even after the Purdue study with all these agencies where they went out scientifically and proved it, but the Turnpike Commission, right, with hundreds of assets, used to average about 30 strikes a year in 2018 and 2019. In January 2020, when they started with us, we reduced those incidents to 0. And ultimately, to give even more, right, of it works, Maryland DOT did their own study and they took their SHA vehicles that are out on the highways a lot that are constantly being hit, kind of collision magnets, right, jokingly, they would say behind the scenes. But over the course of 2023, we eliminated all of those strikes and they now in 2024 have added this to hundreds and hundreds of their state highway administration vehicles that are out there working those roadways. And when I say that digital alerting was codified into federal law, the work we've done at the federal level to make this a standard, it was designated with 405H specific funding, preventing roadside deaths for digital alerting technology. That's us. Because we have done this for years on thousands and thousands and thousands of agencies protecting tens of thousands of people's lives every single day while they're out there. And it doesn't mean we're a silver bullet. It doesn't mean you have to utilize it. We respect anyone's decision on what they're doing for safety. But for those folks that understand that there is a gap, we need people's attention. Let's control them before they get to us, which we've never been before. We'd love to partner with you. We'd love to be able to say, here's how it works and here's how it protects your folks. And you'll notice, folks, that I'm just showing you North America. Our services are live globally, and we have fleets that are actively alerting, protecting their people and their communities in UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, not just here in North America. And we work with fleets that have thousands and thousands of vehicles out there, to even fleets with one truck, doing emergency roadside assist to bring gas or change a tire for a civilian. Everybody deserves a great chance to go home safe to their family. So this is HAAS Alert. This is what we've been doing. We're going to continue to work with more alerting partners. We're going to continue to make this standard, and we're going to continue to make sure that when people partner with us, and it is a partnership, they've got a safety-minded leader that wants to work with you to ensure that your organization and most importantly, your people are protected, they're made safe, and everybody can go home safer to their families.
Tell us how long it takes from when someone they're like, yes, I want to do it. How long does it take to get it set up?
Well, okay, so there's kind of two parts to that
Mhm.
that question, right? Because
Okay.
we talk about onboarding. So, and my screen is still being shared. Is that correct?
Yep. It's a map with, there you go. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So let's say you were coming on board, and I have to provide our equipment, right? So this is our HA7. It's our digital alerting transponder. I have to provide this.
Mhm.
Now, depending on the size of the fleet, I just don't want to go too much into TA, but it was very quick turnaround.
Okay.
And from the time we had our agreements in place to when they wanted us to start shipping,
Yep.
to have it delivered, and we delivered to multiple locations, and just we organized that or orchestrated the logistics for them to make their life easy. And everyone likes simple, likes easy, and that's the partnership that we have. Let my team do the heavy lifting, and then, like I said, they installed a fleet in, big fleet, in just couple weeks, and that was on them, right? Like to do that. So they moved very quickly, and I even worked for that large fleet with them on some best practices. So there was a uniform install across all those locations, all at the same time, to make it seamless for them. So it's relatively quick.
Okay.
We actually had another NATSO member that came on yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And I believe so. I don't know if I have permission to share their name, but they're a franchise of TA. They came on board with just a couple devices, and they've already shipped today. They came on board yesterday. Devices shipped. They should probably have it by tomorrow, coming from Chicago, and then they're ready to install. And all these devices come installed. Once you install them, we'll do a dashboard training like you saw.
Yep.
For the lane closures, if you need to use lane closures, run your reports. We'll do that. Takes 10 minutes, and then you're set up. Now, the second part to that is, what if you come on board through one of, like, you have one of our alerting partners that you, or pardon me, integration partners on the right-hand side. Once the paperwork's done, within 3 days, we have your integration call. That setup takes about, we ask for 40 minutes. But usually that setup is about 20 minutes, and that allows us to connect. We have the API token we drop in. It connects the systems together. We tag the vehicles with HAAS Alert, and then they're ready for you. You will have to make a one-wire connection from their equipment so it can read the flashing lights data.
Yeah.
Most of these companies have it there. If you don't, they can give it to you, or we can provide it to you, but it's a one-wire connection. So you do have to do one small wire connection, not the 3 from mine. But then once you do that, it's done. So, I mean, like I said, within the first 3 days, that integration is done. You're ready to alert. And then all the fleet person or the locations, if you have multiple locations, they just have to connect one wire and it's done. So onboarding is relatively quick.
Okay. Another question that we get a lot is whether the 18-wheeler truckers, they also have your alerts.
So that's a great question. So we are currently we're partnered with Drivewise. So commercial motor vehicles do have the ability to get these alerts through our partnership with Drivewise. Now that Drivewise is typically activated state to state. So if it's not active in a state, the DOT, the State Department of Transportation can activate that service. And then yes, like our alerts, and we are alerting in commercial motor vehicles. There are some other, I can't talk about it because I'm under NDA, but there are some other things inside of the in commercial motor vehicles, so where the alerts can just happen natively, kind of like with Drivewise. We are in discussions. So my automotive side is in discussions at the manufacturing level. Kind of like we do with the consumer manufacturers. So think the PACCARs, the Kenworths, the Volvos, the Peterbilts of the world. And then I and my team on the transportation side are actually working with and talking to the actual fleets that are out there so that they can not only alert when they break down before help gets there to protect them while they're a sitting duck before they get there, but also to receive that alert as well. So our mission is always going to be get as many people as we can receiving the alerts and alerting, because that's making the roadway safer. And we're never going to stop on that mission. So yes, there are things that are in work. It's happening today, and we like to do more, but make no mistake, even though many commercial vehicles have platforms that tell them the CMV approved roads, they will have on their phone something like Waze that's just sitting off over here that's talking to them, even though they're being navigated by their own platform that they're using, that they can take the approved roads based on their load and height and stuff like that.